Good evening, everyone, and welcome back. This is episode 4. It's Thursday, April 3rd. I didn't intend to have such a large gap from the last one, but there's been a whole lot going on. And so I'm just catching up with myself. For those of you who don't live in the Ontario area where I am, we had a massive ice storm last Saturday. And it knocked out the power in my town for many thousands of people. And it took until, for the most part, Wednesday evening, yesterday, for it to come back from Saturday night. So many of us have been hunkered down, trying to keep warm and trying to keep properties safe and so on. I unfortunately ended up with a sump pump issue during the storm, and I had a flood in my basement that I'm still dealing with. And that's unfortunate, but it's okay now. It will be okay. Working with insurance on it, but there is a nice bit of damage downstairs. One of many people in town that had many issues this week. Many trees down, took hydro lines down, and just created a ton of issues. However, I'm grateful to all the many power companies that came around from the vicinity and areas to help out our power company and get things back on track. So things are coming back around. The last few hundred houses came back online today. So I heard from the mayor, and now the cleanup begins. The amount of trees down is just unbelievable around town. And now yesterday we had 5 seasons in one day. It started off with snow, ended up with a thunderstorm and lightning and everything, the whole gamut, and then a ton of torrential rain. And so all the rivers and ditches everywhere is just flowing like crazy. So anyways, enough about that. So I'll pick up where I left off before. As you know, I'm sort of chronicling historically what transpired in my cancer journey and where I am today and so on. And so I am in what I call my rest week right now. So I am running 2-week cycles, and I'm coming up to the end of my rest week. And on Monday, I go in for my second last treatment, and for another 2-week cycle. And so next week, I'll probably be a little bit wiped and so on. However, going back to when I was in the hospital and adjusting to things that were happening there, one of the things that I really had shock, really had this part of me that sort of was just living in this zone, this sphere of disbelief in what transpired. However, it took me a number of days to come around. I do remember that immediately when I was in the hospital, there was a number of people that dropped by and said hello, friends from the town, friends from my home church, friends from Angela's church in Barrie. Many people came out. Of course, close friends and family drove in from all over and so on. My mother was in Newfoundland at the time, visiting family. That was probably a blessing, although she did end up coming back the following week, and she did pay me a visit in the hospital just shortly before I was discharged. But the hospital visit was very interesting. It was the first time that I've ever stayed in a hospital. It was the first time that I ever had such a big procedure done, and it was quite shocking. The surgery was quite invasive, quite a long incision wound, And then coming out of that, I also was given an ostomy. So I had, this long incision and an ostomy, and I'm going, what just happened? However, like I've always said, I feel really blessed with where I'm at and how everything has just unfolded. Um, when I was in the hospital, the surgeon was absolutely phenomenal. Um, she just performed everything in such an incredible way, that she had my best interests, obviously, in mind, and she took very good care of me. Um, the first couple days when I got back to my room, I I I wouldn't say I was in a tremendous amount of pain, although they were keeping me on some drugs and so on. But I was highly uncomfortable. Um, I had this incision, I had this ostomy, and then I had to have all these IVs going through me. I couldn't tell you what they all were. At one point, there was around 10 bags on uh, two pump stands, and each with two pumps. So there was four pumps managing 10 bags of something. And at one point, I had two IVs going into my left arm. Um, the IVs became a problem for me, as my veins had been so used for so much that it was uncomfortable. But what was most uncomfortable was the potassium. I don't know if anybody's ever had that go in by IV, but I refer to it as liquid lava. And that's true. That's what it felt like. It burned going in. And that was because my electrolytes were low. However, I had to be on it. And so what would be like a half day treatment ended up being almost a full day treatment because they would slow it right up, just to help me with the pain management. And also, they would wrap it in really warm bed sheets. It wasn't even towels. They had bed sheets that they wrapped my arm in, and that gave me comfort as well. But as I transitioned through that part, there was a couple things that happened that come to mind. One, I was blessed with a room with a window, so I would get lost in my mind, thinking about things, contemplating life, and contemplating what just happened by staring out the window. Uh, I'm a real big audio file person. I love music, and I had all my stuff with me for that, but I couldn't listen to music. My brain was a little scrambled. I had a TV, I would have it on, but it'd be on mute. I couldn't stimulate my brain with any music, which was very, very weird and different. However, I got to that point a little bit later, and was able to enjoy that. But there were some key things that happened during that time of in the hospital when I had people visit me. And maybe I can have some of them come on as a guest sometime and give you their own story and their own take on it. So I'll just put that feeler out there for those of you who listen. And not to be named yet, but I'll maybe reach out to you and ask you about that. We can do online chat sometime. But there was one thing, one experience that uh, struck me and sort of stayed with me and helped create this path for me moving forward in not knowing what was going to happen. And what it was a very dear friend by the name of Tori who came with her dad, Calvin, and her new son, Ezra, who I had never met, just a little guy, very cute, and he's full of smiles. He has contagious smiles. But she came and she's very autistic, like her mother, Joanne, and she brought this handwritten picture. I actually have it on the wall behind me. And she has impeccable handwriting skills. And so it was a scripture verse that has sort of stuck with me through this journey to this day. And I'll share it with you. It's from Deuteronomy 31, verse 8, and it says the following: The Lord himself goes before you and will be with you. He will never leave you nor forsake you. Do not be afraid and do not be discouraged. And for me, that encapsulated everything that I was feeling. And so I've remembered that verse all through this journey, and I continue to each time where it sort of gets a little bit tougher. But that was a really important part. I had it on my windowsill. I had this picture that you see behind my head there on the windowsill in my room. And it was amazing at all the conversations that, that drawn out or drew out of people that would come and visit me, nurses and visitors and so on. They would see it. And then, at one point I was sharing a room with another young fellow. And so it just brought on some really, really good conversations. And so that was just something that I share. I hope that you find that it encourages you. I'll put it up on the screen here again so you can have a look at it. For those of you who are watching the video, you'll be able to see it on the screen. But those of you listening to it in audio format obviously will not. And that's okay. I did read it to you. And so during the hospital stay, I had so many things hooked up to me that it was really difficult to move and to even get up. It was so uncomfortable. And having two incredible nurses in my life, my sister being one and Angela being another, they have no mercy on patients like myself when they obviously know better. And their mantra was, you're getting up and you're walking. So for the first 3 days, I could only hold them off. After that, no, it wasn't going to happen. So I was ending up walking around on the floor, and it was incredibly slow and painful discomfort. It was uncomfortable at times, but anyways, I worked through it. But it was really important to get things moving and to start to, springboard the body into some healing and so on, and go from there. Moving forward, with a number of tests that they were still performing on me, there was a number of things that they were looking into. They obviously felt very comfortable, the surgeon, that is, that she was able to remove the tumor completely, 100%. She was pretty adamant about that. And with that, she took about a foot of my colon, downward duct of my colon out as well. And she said she did her own pathology test as when I was on the table, which was about a 5-hour ordeal. And so she did her own thing, and she felt very confident that she had removed it all. And a couple of weeks later, that was confirmed with the true pathology report as well. So huge blessing there. There was a couple spots that they had noticed in other areas of my organs. And so I had to go through and get some tests done, some scans and so on. But what struck me so much was just how efficient that was in the hospital. You hear stories about our healthcare system in Ontario and the struggles that are within, and they do exist, staffing being one of them. ER is an absolute nightmare in any of the hospitals. Again, it comes down to staffing levels. And the government has just skimmed them down so low that you have people that are just trying to do their best, but they're struggling because they don't have enough staff. And so for me, every time I had to have a scan done, I would get like a few minutes notice, maybe a couple hours, but then somebody be up to pick me up and off I went and I had the scan. It was exceptional service. And even as I moved towards the cancer treatment, it still continues to this day. So moving forward, after I was released from hospital, I ended up uh, obviously going home and having some home care. Nurses come to my home and help me out on a daily basis. The incision wound was uh, hugely problematic at times, just the healing of that. And so they helped me with that. And of course, they got me going with the whole ostomy bit as well. That's a whole medical thing in itself, and so on. And then after a little bit of time, and once I was assigned to an oncologist, they wanted to um, put me through a chemo treatment, not so much to take care of existing cancer because they felt too that it was out, but as they put it, if there was any microscopic stragglers in my system, um, then this treatment would take care of that. And so I've been embarking on that for the last 5 months, and I have one more to go. And that's been really interesting for many reasons. Number one, adjusting to how it makes you feel, what it does to your body, and so on, and just dealing with it on a day-to-day basis. And for me, the type of treatment that it is for the type of cancer that I did have, I was not in a position where I would be losing my hair outside of what I'm naturally losing. Um, but I had the biggest side effect was this hand neuropathy. And that was warned to me time and time again in every appointment. You need to expect this. And so, what I mean by that is I had a huge sensitivity to anything cold. And so that was to touch and to breathe in. And so instantly, if I would touch something cold or my hands would get cold, my feet would get cold, it would be pins and needles with a little bit of burning. And the same would go for my breathing. My nostrils would flare up and they would feel like they're frozen and they would tingle and burn. And the same with my lips and my mouth and my throat and so on. And that was the biggest side effect for me that I've been enduring through this, besides just feeling generally gross. Uh, I've been blessed where, I wasn't, throwing up or really, really sick like you hear some people have experienced. Mine was just feeling really gross. And so my week would start off on day one with a 2-hour infusion at Royal Victoria Hospital in the cancer clinic, which is a phenomenal operation in itself. The nurses are incredible. The way it functions, the way it looks, it's top notch. So after that, I would still be infused for another couple days in what I refer to as a baby bottle through my arm. And so I was given a PICC line. For those of you who do not know what a PICC line is, because I didn't know what it was, I'll give you a quick tutorial. PICC line goes in through my arm right about here. So I have it covered here. It's a bandage. I won't uncover it, but anyways, and it's a little silicone tube that goes in under my skin and travels up the vein of my arm across my shoulder blade, and it sort of sits right here above the main uh, valve, aorta, or whatever in the heart. And on the end of it is like a quick disconnect where they can hook up IVs to it, and obviously they hook up the treatment to it. So it has to be highly guarded. So it's wrapped. I can't snag it or something serious could happen. Can't hook it on things. It has to have the dressings around it changed every week. And so I have to go to a clinic in Barrie to get that done, and so on. And it's a sterile process. However, it's way better than IVs. I When they hook things up, I don't feel anything. Obviously, it goes right into my heart and gets distributed through my body, but you really don't feel anything. And so I'm really glad. I was really nervous about getting it installed. I didn't really have a good rest the night before, and when I went into a room, and there was an ultrasound tech and an X-ray tech. As I learned, I was put on a $3 million machine, and a radiologist came in, gloved up, and installed it, and then disrobed and took his gloves off and walked out, and all that under 4 minutes. I was sitting there going, "We're done." It was absolutely phenomenal how fast that happened, and so on. But with that, I've been able to receive treatment for like 48 hours uh, at home as well. And so that's been really, really helpful. And so I would go from Monday to Wednesday with the baby bottle um, put on me. I'd wear it like a St. Bernard. And then Wednesday, I have to go to a clinic and have it clinically disconnected, as it is, again, uh, chemo, and it's poison, and so on. And so for those 3 days, I would have that. And then Wednesday nights, I usually dip. And I would dip, and I wouldn't really come up until like Friday, and even sometimes it was a Saturday. And so during that time, really lethargic, not feeling good at all, not much of an appetite. In fact, my digestive tract sort of pauses when I'm on chemo. You have to try and keep the fluids going through you as much as possible. However, anything cold, my lips would tingle, my throat, my tongue, and so on. And so I had to have everything at room temperature or warm. And so you quickly have to adjust to that. So I'm missing cold drinks, like a cold glass of water. I haven't had in months. So it just does not work with me right now. And so that's been my cycle for every 2 weeks. So that was week one. And then as I come up out of it on a Friday or Saturday, then I head into a rest week. And that's when my body's repairing itself. And obviously, the chemo is working. But it's amazing at the power of these drugs, and especially the chemotherapy drugs. They do a lot of things to your body. Um, One of the things that I learned very quickly is just about taking care of your teeth and so on, your oral care, because chemo really does a number on your mouth, and like canker sores and stuff like that. And so that's something that you may have heard cancer patients speak about, but it's something that I quickly had to learn and get a handle on. So, moving through this process, there's a couple things that I wanted to share with you today that became different points of uh, encouragement to me. And one of them was a book that was referenced to me. I think I might have mentioned it in a previous episode, but I am going to show you this book here. So it's called Crispy Cancer. Here's a copy of the book. It was referred to by a dear friend who I've known for many years, and she has become a nutritionist, I believe, as sort of a side job or a side gig, as I know she's a very good teacher. And so she referenced this book to me, and it was life changing. And here's why. So the author of this book, Chris, it's called Chris Beat Cancer. Here you'll see his family here on the screen, and he had the exact same type of cancer that I had, and he had it many, many years ago, and he was just finishing up his university education as a young guy, just about to get married, and so on. And so our journeys are very similar up until the point post surgery. And he did something a little bit different than what I did. And he's not judgmental at all on one way or another. But I went the chemo treatment route, and he went the natural eating route. And he writes about that in his book. And he talks about it, and he talks about the history of industrialized living going back decades, and how since then different cancers have come into society, and a lot of it is driven by what can commonly be referred to as ultra processed foods. And so he talks about the history, and then he gets into current day, and then he starts talking about different things to do with ultra processed foods. It is unbelievable when you read it, just at the things that we are not aware about. There's a picture of his book right there. Things that we're not aware of that is just out there in our day-to-day food here in North America. So if you're interested in learning about healthy eating and journeying through any kind of a cancer treatment and so on, it's not just for what I had as colon cancer. It can be applied to many things. I highly recommend his book. He has a number of cookbooks that are available as well now. And his recipes are very simplistic, but he talks about superfoods that can help our body to fight different things, such as cancer and so on. So I'll just leave that there. You can find it in any bookstore, Amazon, wherever you buy your books. He has them in print, and he has them in audio format. The next thing I want to talk about is a resource that I had no idea even existed until I was speaking to a nutritionist who's assigned to me in the cancer clinic and had been coaching me on a different style of eating, healthy eating, and again, all things to do with nutrition. As I now come out of this cancer journey and make some drastic changes in how I eat. And that was a service and what's referred to as a club, which is called Gilda's Club. So I'm going to show you that on the screen here. This is just an unbelievable resource to anybody that's going through cancer. So this club was started years ago by Gilda Radner, who was an actress on Saturday Night Live back in the 70s. And around 72, she was diagnosed with cancer, and it later took her life a number of years later, around 79. And out of that, she wanted to have a support community for people who are going through the cancer journey. And so in Ontario, or in Canada, I believe, there's two locations. One is a virtual location, all virtual, and that's for the Toronto area. And then there's one in Simcoe, Muskoka, which is next to Royal Victoria Hospital in Barrie, Ontario, that has a physical building and an incredible staff and of people that work there, but also a staff of volunteers that run this amazing building. And they have all kinds of programs. And it's not only for people who are going through cancer, but it's for their family, their dependents, their support networks, and so on. And there's programs for everybody that I just mentioned. So for individuals that like myself, but also for support people as well. And so I became a member of this club, and I've been to a number of sessions now. I've been to a new nutrition one, which was very informing. Um, Catching a theme here with regards to cancer, nutrition. And then I also went to a group session with just different people mixed in together who are talking about their journeys and so on. And then I went to one called Men's Connect, which was for men just to connect every couple of weeks and just chat about their journey and encourage each other and so on. And I've been really enjoying that because I've met a couple gentlemen who've had a similar journey to myself, and they are much senior to me, but they're also many, many years beyond their time of journeying through cancer, and they are doing so remarkably well. And so for me, that was really, really good and encouraging to see and so on. And so through this club, um, services like this and networking like this is able to happen. I highly recommend it. Look them up online, and recommend it to anybody whom you may know is going through this journey of cancer. And so you will not be disappointed. I know they're having a big anniversary spring celebration, and they're bringing out an old band for it, 5440. Who remembers that band? And so they're going to be coming out and giving some entertainment to the people that'll be celebrating on that day later in June. And so that's pretty cool and exciting. And so with that, those are some of the things that have been on my mind as of recently to share with you. But another thing that happens and has been happening a lot is this cancer or chemo brain that people say, or cancer fog. There's a whole bunch of different names that I've heard. It's real. For the first few months, I could not read a book. I had the attention span of like a mosquito. I don't know. Um, I would say that for my reading, I was sort of at the most a magazine article for a period of time. And then I worked up to like the Reader's Digest length. And then like I've only read like 3 full-on books, Crispy Cancer being the first one, throughout this journey. It's just everything here is somewhat foggy and scrambled. Remembering things is a real big deal. I have to write things down, otherwise I will forget about it. And I'm self-aware to know that. And so that's been a real interesting change, and so on, something to really get used to. And so with that, for me, there was a number of things that I did to sort of cope. Obviously, music is one, so I would spend a lot of time listening to music, watching music on YouTube, on the big screen TV, and then just getting lost in my mind, staring out the window. Unfortunately for me, this time frame of that I'm now just coming out of has been through like the worst winter we've had in decades up here. It was really cold. The weather was really challenging, and therefore that really inhibited me from getting out. Because literally, when I would go out, I'd have to glove up. I ended up receiving battery heated snowmobile mittens from my mom and my sister. Thank you. They were gold, to keep my hands warm when I'm out. I'd have to wear like a mask over my nose and my mouth, and like all kinds of headgear, and warm clothing just to manage. And even with that, at the most, during the coldest times, I would last about 20 minutes. That would be it. So by then you start getting the pins and needles, feeling the zaps in your breathing and so on. And so for me, that was really challenging because I instantly went back to like COVID days where, we weren't supposed to be out around people. For me, a really important part of my life is attending church every Sunday and giving of myself in playing the guitar. And I couldn't do that. Um, the risk was just too high with the chemo killing um, my immunity. If I were to be out in big circles, that could be problematic. And so I'm happy to say that so far I haven't caught a cold, even though this chemo has been going through me. I came close to maybe catching some sort of a, a norovirus, but I swung by that one, missed it, thankfully. Um, and all kinds of like walking pneumonia was part of this journey with a family member and so on. But I mean, not that I can catch all of that, but I was around it and I didn't catch any of it. And so I'm very grateful for that because that helped me just to continue to have such success with my treatments. And so as I move forward now into spring, I'm looking forward to warmer weather. But now, as I end up coming to the end of this treatment term, then I'll be moving to the next phase of my journey. My last chemo treatment is on Easter Monday, and it just sort of landed there. And that's very powerful to me for many reasons. But that's going to be a very special day because that will be my last treatment day. And so I'll get to ring the bell and so on. And I'll be sure to get some video of it and post it for people to see and so on. And then moving forward, I'll be working with my surgeon then to reverse my ostomy. In the last number of years, that medical procedure, technology, whatever you want to call it, has come a long way. Whereas I only temporarily have this in place. It's keeping me alive, obviously, but I will be reversed and I will go back to my normal digestive system. And so that for me will be the next step in this journey. And then we'll go from there. But my surgeon's feeling really strong. She feels that I'm actually ahead of schedule a little bit, along with the oncologist. And so maybe things will roll out a little bit ahead of what my expectations were at the beginning of this journey. And so that's sort of where I'm moving forward. And so for, this weekend and coming into another treatment week for me, number one is getting my house sorted out. I'm working with the insurance. They're calling me. Inspectors are coming. So la. I'm trying to get all that done this week because next week I'll be sort of flatlined a little bit. And so trying to get that figured out. And then we'll go from there. So anyways, that's sort of where I've been the last couple weeks, what's been on my mind, and what's been happening. I hope that you're following me on social media. If you aren't, I'm on Facebook, Toddy C, and I'm on Instagram with the same handle, Toddy C. And I'm sort of chronicling different things there as I can. Sometimes it's just things that actually fight off boredom, and sometimes there's things there that actually have real significant meaning to what I'm experiencing these days. But most of all, I'm grateful for all my family and all my friends who have been supporting me and just been encouraging me when you just feel very blah at different times. And I'm very grateful to them all. I love them all. And I hope that by me doing things like this, that I'll just be able to share with somebody who might be going through something similar. I'm just sharing experience. lived experience at that. So I don't have all the answers, nor do I claim I do, but I'll definitely share my own journey. And so that's where I'll leave it for tonight. Thanks again for tuning in. There's a number of people that have been listening. I've been figuring out how to do this in a more even way, more refined way, and I'll get it better and better each time. I am on all the major platforms now. So I'm with Spotify, I'm with Apple Podcasts, I'm with YouTube Music and Amazon Music. And so those are generally the major podcast areas out there these days. So my podcast is posted on there. And so do like it and do give me a follow. I would really appreciate it. And I'd love to hear from anybody. So reach out to me, drop me a line and say hello, and more to come. And we'll talk again soon. And so have a great evening and see you next time. Bye for now.